All right, welcome back to the Central Valley Buzz, everybody. I'm your host, Chuck Leonard. Billy, let's bring in our next guest, Mr. Michael Bogart. Hello, sir.
Hey, good
How
to
are
be
you?
here, Chuck.
Nice to see you. You've been coming on the show for a while now, and you usually talk to Vanessa or you talk to the people at home, telling about different, almost like sermons, okay?
Some mini sermons, I guess.
Mini sermons. So what I thought we should do today is let's take it back, Mike.
Okay.
Let's take it back and tell people why you started the 21st Century Faith and why it's important to you.
Well, there's a lot of talk now about how Christianity doesn't fit in the 21st century. So I thought I've got to have some way of communicating to people that it really does, it's as relevant in the 21st century as it's ever been.
Now, are you saying that less and less people are believing?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, I think there's a number of factors. I mean, the internet has a lot to do with it. There's so much information out there, good and bad.
Well, wait a minute, information, but the internet gave everybody an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And sometimes you can have two opinions and share it.
but people get very vocal on the keyboard. Maybe more vocal than they would in public.
Right.
And I see it a lot, Mike. I see, oh, if there was a God, this never would have happened.
Right.
If there was a God, this person wouldn't have died, or this war wouldn't have happened, or this catastrophe wouldn't have happened.
Right, right. That's called the classic problem of evil. It's one of the issues Christianity has always had to deal with. If God is what the Christians say he is, then why do evil things happen? So that is the major bone of contention people have these days.
Well, not just these days. It's one of the major bones of contention they've had since the beginning of time.
That's exactly right.
You're always going to have your naysayers. You're always going to have your non-believers.
Right.
Then on the other hand, you're always going to have your teetotalers.
That's right.
Right?
Yep, yep.
So I think when we talked earlier, I mean months and months and months ago,
right.
You said, Chuck, it's the millennials, man.
Well,
it's the millennials that are kind of pushing the religion to the wayside.
Statistics are showing, and we're not talking about surveying 100 people, we're talking about surveying tens of thousands of people, show that the demographic between 35 and 18 is largely moving away from organized religion of all kinds. I mean, it doesn't matter Christianity, Hinduism, Islam. In this country and in the West, they're moving away from religion. But are they Mike? Are they this? Are they? I don't need to congregate at a church to be spiritual. I do unto others as they do to me. Those kind of things. Well, of course, there's different reasons why people do that. You've got your out-and-out atheists that say this is not for me. I don't believe it. It's not anything I want to have anything to do with. And then you've got your people that still, maybe they would call themselves Christians. They just don't want to be involved in anything organized. Mm-hmm. So everything in that spectrum you've got in that demographic. But studies have shown that about 60% of kids that grew up in church of one kind or another are now in that demographic are no longer involved.
They're falling off.
Right. So we're only retaining 40% of the kids we raise in church.
Well, maybe that should be attributed to the message.
And and some of that's true.
We see TV evangelists all the time.
Right.
Maybe over the years, maybe they helped us get turned off a little bit.
There have no doubt been really bad examples. Of course, all the scandals. You remember back in the 70s and 80s,
sure.
All those scandals. They didn't help anything. In the Catholic Church, they've had their scandals. So, I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of factors contributing to this idea that, hey, this isn't for me or whatever it might be.
So ideally, what do we do?
Well, one of the reasons why I have, Aspect Ministries is what sponsors 21st Century Faith. Our big mission is to help churches and Christians re-engage with the millennial generation. And so that's what we do. We provide training.
How do you do it? You put it on an app? How do you re-engage them?
Well, we do a lot of seminars. We travel around doing seminars in churches and conferences, things like that. I've got my videos that help people. I've got some classes that we're putting online that will help people. In fact, I'm working with Fresno Pacific's Center for Professional Development to provide some classes there. So there's a lot of training that has to be done.
So we're just looking at Christianity. You're not saying, hey, I want you to come in under this denomination. You're just saying, I just want you to come in.
We're about Jesus at Aspect Ministries. We're not about being a Baptist or a Catholic or Pentecostal. We're about Jesus. That's who we are.
Do you meet around town?
We don't have I don't have a church or anything like that. What I do is I go around training churches and Christians and appearing on television programs and things like that.
Awesome. And what's the kind of response you're getting?
I get two kinds of responses. One is
get away from me.
One is that this is not happening. No, it's not true. Then the other response is it's about time somebody's talking about this, because almost everybody who goes to church knows their kid, their grandkid, their nephew, the next door neighbor, and they're heartbroken over the fact that these kids are not engaging. Right. So a lot of people are glad we're doing what we're doing.
Well, you know what? I could see what you're doing, and it certainly couldn't hurt.
Oh, that's for sure. Hopefully it'll help.
All right, Michael Bogart here with us every Wednesday. I really enjoy talking to you.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for what you're doing for the Central Valley. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the buzz. Stick around.